Hey guys, this is Woodworker Rare, and today I've got something a little different. This is part of my microscope, and specifically it is the part that is the shutter for the part that holds the camera, basically. This is the brains, well, not the brains, but this is the mechanism that actuates the shutter sitting up, and I can maybe put a graphic of this up or something, but you've got the microscope, you have the adapter, and your camera goes on the end of the adapter. Now what you want to do with film photography, and this is when this was built, this this microscope was made in the 60s or 70s, and at that point you had film cameras, and the shutter in those, especially from that era, was fairly heavy, and it actuates linearly, so the entire shutter, goes chunk chunk, and it goes out of the way, and then it goes chunk chunk back in a line. Now, what that does when you're at extremely high magnification, and the microscope that I have is capable of somewhere around like 600 or 1000 magnification. When you're at such high magnification, the like anything that happens, if you bump the table or whatever, is going to cause vibrations in the microscope and make your picture not come out well. And especially, I mean, you're talking like I don't know, 30th to 100th of a second or whatever. That's not fast enough to really capture, just to stop motion. And you need that because any faster than that, like a 2000th of a second or whatever, which would stop a jet engine, literally, like as it's spinning at full speed, it just wouldn't capture enough light. So that's why in the adapter part that I have, that I'm working on, there is a iris type. I forget what I think it's an iris type. It's the same type of shutter type as the aperture in a camera, and it looks like this. In fact, this is it. And what goes on is you cock it with this lever. A bunch of cool stuff that happens in there. And I'm just going to see if I can get this all in focus a little bit better. Brighten that up a little bit so you can see it a little bit better, maybe. Cock it with that. Once it's cocked, it doesn't really do anything else. Now, this is the problem that I've been having, is this thing is intermittently not working. Now, if you see, wow, that's going to be difficult to do. Okay, if you see this little thing here, moves, this big lever is actuated by a cable release, which you're not going to be able to really see, but basically it sticks out like that, hits another piece of metal, it hits this. And again, you use a cable release because you want to use the least amount, or you want to introduce the least amount of vibrations possible, and a cable release allows you to do that. What that's supposed to do is come in here, and it's supposed to have a little bit, there's a pin on the bottom of this, and it's supposed to have just enough force that when you push that in, it pushes this part. I'm going to get this over here so maybe you can see this. Now watch the iris in here. I'm going to push this little piece in, that opens up. If I push this lever again, it closes back down, because it's no longer, that second time, it's no longer needing to contact this little piece here. And I'm going to turn that around and see if you can see that a little bit better, maybe. I don't know. I can't really see this that well. But basically this little piece, do this, I think it pops out a little bit better. Yeah, there you go. that piece right here that just moved, you can see it doesn't really work until I push it in and it actuates that. And then if I push it in again, it sets that. Now, again, I'm going to do it one more time. Watch this little arrow-shaped thing here. Pops out. And now it's working. Now, I don't know why it's working now. And you can't really feel it, but I can feel this. And earlier it wasn't working. I think what the problem is with this is the pin that's on the bottom of this thing. And there's no way I'm going to be able to show it to you, but take my word for it, there's a pin. And you might be able to see there's a little divot here. I don't know if they welded it on or if they punched it out or what, but anyway, you can see a little bit of a difference here, where, in fact, right in there, where that pin is attached on the bottom side. But that hits that little angled piece and shoves it over, which activates the rest of the mechanism, does its thing, and opens this and closes it. Well, opens it, I should say. To close it, there's a different thing that this also actuates. I don't know exactly what it is. I don't even know what part of it does it. The rest of this mechanism that is 50 some odd year, yeah, it's 50 or 60 years old, is flawless. It's wonderful. I'm not going to mess with this at all, except to take a toothpick with some sort of grease or oil and very carefully put it on the bottom side of that, or on that pin and on the contacting part of that, excuse me, of that, that lever there. But I just wanted to show you how complex this is. I looked at this, I was like, you've got to be kidding me. I mean, that is a joy to watch work. I mean, that's just cool. And there it goes, and there it goes again. I think if you watch this, yeah. So there's some sort of springy system that goes in there, and this is what actuates the first part of it, and that's what sorry. Okay. So watching this piece here. I think this is the part that actuates the opening of the iris shutter, and that is what actuates the closing of it. And the whole idea with this is it closes and is light tight. You have your film camera above, with the shutter is locked open, also with a cable release, and then you actuate your microscope adapter. This one is called a PFM, and that's what this whole adapter thing with this shutter system is called. But anyway, you do that. This opens up, lets light into the film of your camera, and then you get to take, that's what takes the picture, and then it closes back up. The good thing about this is it locks open like that, so you can actually use it with a digital camera, and the digital camera, especially if it's mirrorless, doesn't have a shutter. And so you just, activate that however you do, and there's no vibration. You don't even have a remote shutter. This is a different view of what you just saw with my macro lens. Undoubtedly lesser quality video, but possibly a little bit easier to see. So I'm going to try and do this with one hand. And then this is the problem with it, is it's just not accurate. It's just not wanting to go. And then if I do it again, chunk. So that's that. I'm gonna oil this. I've been told that white lithium grease is what to use for this. I'm waiting on a second opinion of that, but I'm pretty sure that's probably what I'm going to go with, because that sounds pretty cheap. In fact, I have it in my garage right now, and it sounds like it's viscous enough that I can get it on here, but it's not viscous enough that it's going to affect any of these parts adversely. They'd probably be able to tell you exactly what's going on here, but I can't. I don't really know what is going on there other than there's a thing doing a thing. The only hope that I have with it is that I understand it enough to know that the issue is with that little pin and that thing there, and not some other part of this. Because if it's some other part of this, I'm out of my depth. I would just, I don't know what I'd have to do. I'd probably literally buy like a whole new part and hope that it was better. However, I'm going to try and get this fixed tomorrow morning, and then I will film reassembling it, hopefully with actually fresh camera batteries, because doing this without camera batteries is kind of difficult. But I will tell you, if you do mess with one of these, you'll want a small screwdriver like this. I think this is a 2.5 millimeter Phillips slotted screwdriver. There are multiple and varied sizes of spanner nuts. That one's about that big. There is one of these, which I've never seen. It is a kind of a castle nut, I think. I don't know. This actually goes on this little round part in the middle there, and holds some sort of piece on there. I don't even remember what it was. I think it's this piece. Yeah, this thing goes on there. This thing goes on that, and lines up with the red mark there, which is actually a screw. It's a whole thing. A pretty complicated machine to work on. However, it's very, very satisfying to work on. And when it works, that is about the most satisfying mechanism to operate that I've ever seen. It's very fun. Not quite as fun as a fully mechanical 35 millimeter film camera, but pretty close. I'm going to now lubricate that little thing, and I've got some white lithium grease here, and I'm going to use like one of these little things, get it on the end of a toothpick, hopefully, and then get it in there somehow. And I'm just wanting the tiniest amount of the stuff. This is a really, it's called white lithium grease, but it's more, the main selling point is like it doesn't really run. I don't know how well you can see that, but it's like it's not sliding down or anything. If you spray this on something, it'll run. But mostly just because it's like an aerosol and it shoots. I mean, you can't even tell that this is wet in the video, but it is. It's got a little bit on there, and I'm just gonna try and get it in there to do this. And I don't expect you guys to be able to really see this, what's going on here, but fact, I'm going to end up using this thing, I think, because... Okay. Where's that part? There it is. I got this thing for storing this. I'm going to put that on there so I don't have to... These are tweezers and they want to open up, so I'm going to unopen up them. Get in here. Okay, so now we're going to test it and see what happens. Oh man, that is way better. Perfect. I'm going to put a tiny bit, if I can, I'm going to put a tiny bit on the pin in here. Okay, so that's done. And actually, I should have done this before because I actually left this out like this all night, which was really stupid. But I'm just going to blow out this mechanism. But I don't understand any of this mechanism really. But I actually went on a watchmaking forum and was asking about like what grease to use on this and everything. And then I actually watched a YouTube video on you know, like different types of watch grease and everything. And the guy was saying that basically this mechanism right here would want a type of grease, much like white lithium grease. I mean, he didn't actually say white lithium grease, but there's a watchmaker's grease that he says is good, which is, I think, $40 for like an ounce or something of it, which is enough to fix probably 5,000 watches or something. But I don't want to spend half of what this whole like part cost on that. And then the other one that he was saying was the these gears in here, which spin pretty fast when they're, I mean, you can watch them, these in here specifically, like they just moved. And then like they all move pretty quick. He was saying stuff, because you've got different types of gears and things in watch movements and this type of thing. These move really fast. There's bigger gears that are called crown gears in watches, which if you watch wrist watch revival, man, that's the most difficult difficult name to say. If you watch his videos, you'll actually see a lot of this stuff. And he'll tell you like, oh, this is the crown gear, this is the thing, this is, you know. But that is frequently a fairly large gear. This is not one, but it's a fairly large gear compared to the rest of the watch. And if this was a wristwatch, which it's not far off, usually they'd be more like this size, but you know, at least for like women's watches or whatever. But anyway, the crown gear is basically the biggest gear in the movement, and it's, I don't know what exactly it does, but anyway, I'm not going to even try and explain what it does. But basically, it moves fairly slowly compared to the other gears and stuff in there, which are pretty fast. So anyway, regardless of that, or in any case, what he was saying is the faster the the gears move, the slower or the thinner the grease needs to be, or the lubricant that you use. And I'm going to check something really. I'm not going to do it over that. I don't want that mess on my hands. There's a couple places in here. I've got this little OLED 3 EOS. Great light. I actually carry one on my keychain. I've got one in my workbench drawer. They're just great. Little tiny thing. You could hold it in your mouth if you have to. You know, as like a third hand type deal. And I don't normally. I've got a macro light up here above the camera, which I know this is down, but you know. So I'm actually gonna grease the face or the side of this thing here, and this, where is it? This part here. I'm just gonna play with this and see what does what. Yeah. So this part, and that part which is hidden, grease those two things real quick. Now I'm gonna try and do this while you can see me, but I'm probably blocking this whole thing. And now I'm totally off camera, but take my word for it, I'm doing it. Okay, and so I just greased this part in here. And activate this again so I can get to the next part. Got way too much grease that time. And already that point is kind of bent over, but I think it'll work. I don't know how well you're going to be able to see this, but I'm going to try. And again, a tiny piece of a napkin. And this is like one of the store napkins, so it's like cheap. But that's actually good for the lens paper. Would be the best for this, I think, but I'm not going to use lens paper. I actually have it in the box right beside me, but I don't feel like using it right now. Okay, so now let's see. I'm sorry, but I have to be able to actually see this. Is there grease on that? Oh, there actually is grease on that. You're probably not going to be able to see this unless you're watching on a really large screen. But there's on this linkage here, let's see if I can do that. There we go. On this here, in fact, maybe if I bring that up a little bit, you can see better. Let me get this propped up here for you. And then bring the light up. I'm trying to make this so you can actually see it. And I know there's like overexposed spots, but can't help that. Anyway, so this arm here, it pivots here, and then there's a little divot here, or like step down. And then over on this face is one face, but right across the middle of it, you can kind of see some grease there. Or oil or something. I think it's grease now. It probably used to be oil. But I'm just going to remove that because there's no reason for it to be on top of that whole thing assembly. And I didn't put that there. That's something old, and you can kind of maybe see it there. I don't know if you can or not, but I got a little bit of it off. Just gonna do the same thing for the top of this other part of it. Kind of get in there and get the excess off of there, because it's just gooey old grease or oil or something. And there's no reason for it to be there. It's not doing anything. Now let's see if it works. Because that's the real trick is, you know, after you fix it, does it actually work? That's a big question at this point. It should. I mean, I didn't really do anything to it that should have affected that. This is a lot smoother, I can tell you that. I don't know if that is, but I assume I greased it. It should be. I'm gonna actually put a little bit more on there. On the end of this bar. So there's actually, I don't know if you're gonna be able to see that again or not, but right here, watch this. There's another bar underneath that, and I'm gonna try and grease the end of that. Or actually not the end of it, but like the part where this other one moves across it. And the end of it. There is a point on watch movements, I know from wrist watch revival. Man, I'm never going to be able to say that thing right. Haven't been recording this whole stinking time. Okay, well, this is Woodworker Royer, and I just did a whole bunch of stuff that you didn't get to hear. So now you might get decent audio. I thought I had that recording that whole time, and I didn't. That's dumb. Well, anyway. You can cry over spilt milk, but it's not going to do you any good. It's not going to put it back in the bottle without bacteria, trash from the floor on it. Anyway, before that whole debacle, you guys saw it. Happily, my camera is recording audio right now, so you heard it in some quality. I really apologize for that quality, because it's probably about as clean as it's probably about as good as the floor milk. But anyway, you got to see that. If for whatever reason you didn't get to hear it, you can now on better audio. Basically, I oiled the two faces in here on this like spinny thing underneath this arm. I oiled those, and then I oiled, greased the two parts of this arm here. If you watch right there, boom, boom. There's a thing, a part under it that does move, and actually also contacts with the spinny things here. I also oiled this moving armature down here, that thing, and it works. That actually fixed the problem. But while I'm in here, I'm doing other things, and the next one I'm going to do is this pin and this piece here. Basically, I'm carving the toothpicks, and then I'm having to pick up every piece so it doesn't get into this thing somehow. And I ought to be doing it someplace else altogether, and I do realize I just took this out of focus totally, but sorry. Can't help that. There's actually quite a bit of, I don't know if it's old grease, quite a bit of black stuff that's coming off of these things when I'm applying this grease. So I'm kind of trying to keep my impact down on it. And you can maybe see that on there. I don't know. Probably not. I'm looking at this on a, I think, 3-inch screen on my camera, so I know that I'm not seeing a lot of detail. I'm going to blow this off. But anyway, before I found out that my recorder wasn't working, I was saying that there is a point, if you watch wristwatch revival videos, there is a point, and he talks about this, where, in fact, he's got a whole video about where somebody literally like took an entire wristwatch and like dunked it in a bath of oil to fix it, because supposedly that's going to help. So I don't know what the logic is there, because that doesn't sound like it would fix anything to me. If there's, let's put it this way. If there's a mechanism that is broken, bathing it in cleaner or oil or lubricant is not going to fix the problem, most likely. If you put it in solvent and there was, some bad grease in there or something, it might fix it. But oil isn't a solvent to most things anyway. And I don't know, the whole logic behind that. He's not a proponent of that idea. He's actually saying not to do that. But the whole logic behind, anyway, his whole point is don't over oil the watch. Now, I didn't do anything in here that is. I'm not a professional by any means. I don't really know what I'm doing. But the whole idea behind this whole thing is to get this stuff greased or whatever. I'm trying to put the smallest amount of grease on this I can. I just want it. I mean, it's literally like a 32nd of an inch thick pieces of metal on these arms and stuff. I'm putting the smallest amount of oil or of white lithium grease I can on these, because I just want it on like the side of it where it's sliding. I don't want it on the face. I don't want it on the bottom. I don't want it dripping onto some other part of it, the thing, because it's not the right grease for it. This has strong enough springs in it. I don't think that getting white lithium grease on it right now would hurt it. But as that dries out, because everything dries out, I mean, even the really nice synthetic stuff is going to die eventually. When that dries out, it gets a little, couple specks of dirt, some worn off filings from the movement, because it's metal on metal. It's gonna do that. That's the whole reason you use grease, is because you don't want it to do that for as long as possible. Anyway, the whole idea is you don't want too much grease. I don't think I put too much grease on it, but I was extremely careful not to put too much grease on it. I don't have the correct type of grease, and I also don't have the correct knowledge, or I would go in here and I would take this whole thing apart and put it all back together and actually oil like the whole thing. This movement is 50 to 60 years old. 50 to 65. Because it was built in either the 60s or 70s. I think 90-20 was the one that was like the really thin oil that you needed for all these really fast moving parts. Again, that's beyond me. I don't do that. If I was going to do that, I would probably literally just take this down to a jeweler that does watches and be like, hey, dude. Or a watchmaker or something like that. I mean, I would do research on it and be like, hey, this guy really knows what he's doing. Because this is a very, very rare and kind of expensive part. I got it for $80. I've seen them for as much as 500. The fact that I got this one in almost mint condition, I mean, like really good. I don't think it's got a scratch on it. Really, really nice quality piece, and really nice quality. I mean, it's Nikon, it should be, but I'm going to start putting it back together. This is the problem. Like, I know that this goes on here. I think it goes on like this. That's got to do... Okay, that does that. Okay, so it's got to go this way. Okay, this was really stupid on my part for not paying attention to how this went on and off. You were wanting to move before. What's wrong now? Shoot. I'm trying to figure out how this thing all clips together. It's on time. Doggone, I forget how this goes. Go that, yeah, it's got to go that way. So that's all the way that direction. Then that would mean that this has to be good night. And this pin moves. And there's no other alignment, is there? Oh, there is. Wish I hadn't moved that. I moved this inner ring here moves a little bit. And it does that. So those are alignment points. That's gotta be. Does that move? It does move. Wow, that moves a lot. Gotta be like that, maybe? That can't be that far off. It's gotta be something. Yeah, it does that. I don't know what it does. There's no way to get that thing to go, right? See, the problem with... I'm sorry, I'm off camera with this. The problem with this is that there's not really a manual for this. Maybe I can get at it this way. I think I can. That goes in there, I think. I don't know how it goes. I think I'm just going to put it on. See what happens. There. Okay. I'm not going to take that apart to show you exactly what happened, but basically over here there was a thing that's spring-loaded out on detents on this thing. And that's what, in fact, I'm actually going to do that because it's an important part. It's this thing. This part right here is spring-loaded out, and it's actually a pretty decent spring. I have to oil that. Because I think that's important. Don't need that much grease. I just need a little bit. After all, it is an incredibly tiny part. Now that I'm putting grease on it, I probably should have put oil on it. It doesn't really matter at this point, I don't think, because it's like this is basically open to the elements where that is, and I don't think anything you put there, like short of like graphite or something, is going to be like totally safe for the thing. I'm never going to wipe the excess off of that. It's going to figure itself out. There we go. Okay. Why does that move though? I don't know. Basically, the other part of that spring-loaded thing, there's another pin that was black that has to line up with this little hole here. which is what I thought to begin with, but it was like switched around or something because I'd moved this ring. I don't understand what that does. I really don't understand what that does, but it's on now. And I don't want to mess with any other parts. There's some other pieces I should have oiled, but actually, you know what? Now that I do know how it goes, I have to do it. I have to do it. It's just, I can't not. It's kind of a stupid, it'd be really stupid to take this all apart, get this all done, and then be like, oh yeah, I really should have done that because, you know, it was actually important after all, because it broke the next day. What is that? Oh my goodness. I don't know what that is. That's weird. It really didn't dry out, did it? That fast? Oh, it's a piece of paper towel. Okay, good. There's something like on the top of the grease that I was like tripping over because I didn't know what it was. That's enough for that one. That is probably enough for that one. Just, I don't want to overdo this because I don't want there to be like excess that gets some on something, but like I'm like 90% sure that this is too thick to really run. Unless it gets like really hot or something for whatever reason. And I don't know why it would. I think that these are the only two pins that really matter at this point. And I'm going to go back to my tweezers because I think that they're better at this part. This isn't really going to be in focus for you, I'm sorry, but I'm also sorry about like rubbing my face against my mic there. Okay, I think that's pretty good. Let me get this other chunk of paper towel here and clean my tweezers off and then clean off the excess off of these things because I don't want excess grease where I can avoid it. I also don't really want these fibers in here, so I'm going to be really like basic about this. The reason I mentioned this cheapo paper towel is the really like rough ones that you find, not rough, but like they're like crinkly paper, like tissue paper type stuff. They don't really shed fiber. I mean, everything sheds fibers. Even if you get a lint-free, you know, such and such, whatever, cloth, whatever. If you're in a clean room environment, that actually does have quite a bit of dust. Like, it's just that it doesn't have as much dust as like Kleenex, where you pick it up and there's literally a cloud of dust following it along, like Pigpen from those Peanuts cartoons. Anyway, so I'm gonna do this now and put that guy on here and push this guy in here. There we go. I think it's all working now. So this is the fastest shutter. And I don't know if you can even capture that, really, but Yeah. And then if I go to the other end of the spectrum, we've got, I think bulb and then time. Do we? Yeah, we do. And so at that point, you cock it, fire it, and it stays open. You can see that it stays open, and then fire it again, and it closes. And now that I've shown you that, I'm going to put this back together. Well, I still remember how, because that would be really bad if I didn't know how to do this. So this gear is very interesting, or it's not a gear, it's a nut, I think. It's kind of like a castle nut. Yeah, you know what? I like that. I like their theory there. So the way this works is, and this is really, really cool design in my opinion. The way this works is the outside of this ring has the nut. The inside has threads, okay? Basic nut anatomy there, I guess, is the outside has threads. Or the inside diameter has threads. Now, what they did on the outside there is they've got a bunch of these notches cut. Now, at the factory, they decided, for whatever reason, I don't know why, that this needed to be loose. Fairly loose. I mean, it's like, it's working. It's not really... Actually, I do know why, because this piece has to move. That's why. And then, so what they did is they actually took, and they figured out, okay, it's got to be this tight. They've got a screw here, and the head of the screw is very, very odd. They have taken and they've ground a corner or an edge off of it. So there's a straight edge here, and it's not round all the way around. That allows you to twist that side out of the way, or into the way actually, so that this ring can move. When you turn that, now watch, which you can't really see, so I don't know why I'm doing that. And I'm getting the mic again. If I turn that screw, which is right here, 180 degrees from where that flat spot is. So the flat spot allows this ring to move. Now, that ring can move a little bit and no more. And that screw isn't even really tight, but they keep each other from, I mean, there's no force on this really, on the screw. There is some on the other thing, but that keeps, in fact, actually, no, I take that back. That screw and that thing keep that aligned. How does that work? Oh, I know. Okay, never mind. No, why did they do that? I don't know why they didn't tighten that down. You know what? It's marked. They had a reason. I don't know why. Doesn't make any sense to me, but I don't know. There was a reason for it. I just don't know what it was. So now I've got to remember how the rest of this thing went together. Now I know this is the top, so that is the bottom, and these two screws go to the bottom. And this is, I should have filmed taking this apart, but that's actually why I'm filming putting it back together, because you can just like reverse the video and you'll know. I'll sound really weird, but you know. So I'm putting this screw in. Now I think these two screws are literally just alignment screws. I don't think that they actually serve any real purpose. I could be totally wrong. They might be like super important parts, but I don't know what they do. So I think that they're just alignment screws, which is kind of weird because the rest of, like this thing is alignment. Like it couldn't go anywhere either really. But actually no, I take it back because this kind of just floats. It's kind of weird how they do it. It floats, and if it, where is it? That's not. Is that? No, that's not it. Where is it? There it is. So this actually goes in like so in here. And you see this little notch, this little keyway looking thing? It goes in there, and if it was like, if it didn't have those alignment screws, it would just like bang a ground in that. And you don't want that. So they put the alignment screws there. Okay, and now I'm trying to think if there's some other way that this works. This goes in here, right? I'm going to put this in the way that it came, in fact, the opposite way of what it did when it came out. There's not really any major movement. Oh, shoot, I shouldn't have done that. Got to figure out what setting this is on now. Okay, that's on bulb. Or, no, that's not on bulb. That's the other one. Okay, that's that extreme. So I'm trying to figure out where this thing has to go. So that was like those fastest, so I have to put it all the way over to that side. And then when I put it together, it'll make more sense. But right now, put that aside. Take this. There are very small threads on the outer edge of this little, I don't know, little part of this top hat looking thing. That actually looks a lot like a top hat. Anyway, on the rim of the hat, they actually, there are threads and they actually correspond with the grooves here. There's a tool that kind of goes across the, can you see? Yeah, you can see the holes now. There's a tool that fits into those, and it's like it's called a spanner wrench. It's kind of redundant because, like in England and stuff, they call wrenches spanners. So it's like wrench basically, but it literally spans a divide there. But anyway, man, that's going to be difficult to get it in there. Maybe. Oh. Should have said that sooner, because now it works. And it doesn't sound very good, but I don't know what to do about that, so I'm not going to bother with it. So I'm literally just putting my fingers in here and like spreading them out and like getting enough torque to do this. It doesn't really need to be torqued, but like I kind of want it to have some force behind it. I mean, I'm not like really torquing it or anything. If I had the tool, I wouldn't even torque it. But I want it to be like set there so that when I use it, it's not like rattling around. Okay, so now there are threads in here as well, and I'm gonna, not easy to do this. There's threads in here. I don't know how well you can see them. Maybe if I focus. Don't know if that helped or not, but there's threads in there. Take my word for it. And that's what this thing goes on. And it's funny because there's actually, oh no, that's not threads, I guess. There's actually thread looking things on the inside of this spanner nut, and that's what this is too. That big top hat looking thing was a spanner nut. This is a spanner nut. It's just the other design. It's got slots in here instead of pins. And you can kind of see that, the slots right here. And I don't have the specific tool for that, but again, basically finger pressure. With this one, I actually had to use like the spudger thing here and like loosen it, but it was already loose, so it worked perfectly. So now this guy goes in here like that, and does it? Where does that go? Does that can't spin the whole thing? What does that do? What does that? Oh no, that does spin the whole thing. I'm an idiot. Okay. So this goes, there's a big pin in here and it fits in this hole. And so I put that over there, put that in there, and now it moves like it's supposed to. And part of my problem with this is I was moving around between cameras, and there's a method to fire this that you use for a DSLR, or not a DSLR, an SLR film camera, and then there's a separate method that you use for a mirrorless camera or a DSLR in live view mode. And those two, oh goodness, this is going to be a pain to get this in. I said it's going to be a pain to get you in. Hey, I mean, it worked last time. I'm actually going to try and move you over. Oh, that was a mistake. I don't know if you're going to be able to see this or not, really, but Take my word for it. I'm putting something in here. Doggone. My hands are like the driest hands in the world, and I think that they're actually like still have enough oil to to be causing me problems. I think you can see that in there now a little bit better. I'm using my little flashlight here to show you, so you can see that I'm having to try and align that, and it's made out of aluminum. This nut is made out of aluminum, and aluminum is very sticky metal. It galls really easily with the threads, and I got it threaded in there somehow. Okay, so I've got that screwed on there pretty good. I'm just waiting until this flexes, and then I'm done. I don't need it to be. It doesn't need to be tight. It's not going anywhere. But aluminum threads are like really bad because they gall really easily if you put too much torque on them. Or actually, I shouldn't say that. Well, do they? I think stainless steel is the one that galls really badly. Like it welds itself to things. It's stupid. I mean, it's a really important metal, but you know, it's kind of like the way it works is kind of frustrating. Aluminum, they have this like anodized textured stuff on it, and like it makes for the worst feeling threads, and also really hard to get on there because like there's no weight to the thing, so it just kind of like any movement is just, oh, I'm gonna move now. Like if you touch it, it just boing, you know, out of where you wanted it to be. So now I've got that part together. Now this is frankly, the easy part at this point. Except I don't remember where those two screws go. Well. That's a problem. Hey guys, this has been Woodworker Royer, and I'm out. See, I didn't film this taking it apart, so I'm not positive where those go. Oh, okay, I know where they go now. Okay. Whew. Okay. Yeah, okay, so I just put them, I kind of did this out of order. I didn't realize I had to take a part off when I did. Okay, so now you can see this. There's this thing here, and it literally just hits this pin, and that's its whole job. My camera just died. I don't know why. I think the battery died. It was a full battery too, so it's kind of weird. But anyway, I don't know when I stopped talking in that clip. But basically, I got this apart. I was explaining about the camera store incident. And anyway, basically, it all worked out. It's fine. I'm not even like upset at the camera store or anything. But I wanted to finish like putting this back together. So this is the part, this plastic cap unscrews, and in this case, my Sony camera, which is right there. Bolts on there, or it clips on. And then there's an adapter here. It goes down to a Nikon F-mount. And then this thing clips on here, and I'm not sure how that goes. I don't know. There's a thing here. I think it goes like this. Oh, you're supposed to line that up after. Okay, yeah. So the red dot goes to the black dot, and then you turn it so the black dots are together. I don't know why they did that. That's kind of a weird way, and then you screw that in to kind of bolt this down, and now it's like aligned, I guess. But this is a really, really fun mechanism. Really, really interesting parts. I don't understand this thing. This is the one part I was like ranting about spanner nuts and right to repair and all this stuff. This is literally the only nut on here that is not a spanner nut. Everything else is. There's literally like 6 of them in like the two main pieces here. Like outside of this, outside of that, there's literally like 5 or 6 of them in just those 2 pieces. And that's mostly for security. I think like Nikon doesn't want you fixing it. And this was back when like right to repair wasn't even, to my knowledge, wasn't even a thing. Because it was like the 60s and 70s, you just did it, you know. I mean, like there were things, I'm sure you didn't like fix your own airplane at that point. Like there were probably laws against that, but you know, within reason, like normal stuff like table saws or whatever, it's all the same, you know, stuff. It's not glued together and everything like phones are nowadays. You basically were just able to do whatever you wanted with basic tools. But Nikon wanted to be different. They wanted to like maintain their quality, which I totally get. And they wanted to do this. But anyway, so that is this video. I hope you guys liked it. I am actually going to fire this for you. So cock it. I'm going to see if you can see in here or not. You should be able to watch this happen. Yeah. So if I scoot this over here, do that. Ka-chunk, it opens. And ka-chunk, it closes. You can't really see that very well, but anyway, hope you guys